clothing and the fact of the atmosphere that is on. Like, he just has phenomenal taste, as you can tell. When you're standing on set and you see this clothing and you see just couches or whatever it might be, all this atmosphere, are you sort of secretly thinking, what can I take home today that they're not going to notice?
Oh God! If only that were the case. No, they always notice on this kind of thing, because it was quite a low budget thing. So that all that stuff had to make its way back to the caravan it came from. But no, it does. It's so nice to walk onto a set that all the work has been done, and the level of detail reflects the level of detail and the level of thought that has gone into the project as far as Tom's concerned. And as I say, it's like we have Ariane Phillips, who was the costume designer. It's not all. It's Tom working in conjunction with her, So, and every head of department has worked on 1 million films, and they were all doing a favour for Tom, working for very little money. So yeah, you just feel very fortunate and lucky to know that the book is being, what's the fucking word? It's just been taken seriously, and it's like walking onto the set of Madman, effectively. There's no saying. Yeah, great show.
Great show.
Which is great, because John Hamm, who did the voice, he did the phone call to Colin.
About that. I was wondering. Jumping into, obviously with every film you prepare a little bit, you do some research, whatever. Was this a film that you did a lot of research on, or did you feel like you had it without doing any sort of background?
That's a good question. I mean, I think because there was very little time between being offered the film and us starting, it was like about 10 days or something. So I didn't feel like I needed, and also just due to the nature of the part, I didn't feel like I needed to immerse myself in 50s culture and this, that, and the other. I thought it was just much more conducive to doing a good performance, of just getting to know Colin a bit well, and also watching what he was doing on set, so to try and figure out what their relationship was like. It's not really about, you don't learn anything about the history of the 50s, apart from the fact that obviously the homosexual relationships had to be kept hidden and quiet, from how, you don't perceive anything out of the ordinary, a comment on culture or anything like that from the scenes that I have with him. So I didn't do, I read the book and I had the script, so that was about it really. If I was playing a politician of the era, then I think obviously I would have immersed myself, but...
I totally get it. I'm going to jump into Watchmen for a second. I recently saw the director's cut, finally. Well, I guess now it's been a few months.
Yeah.
I did it Blu-ray. And, don't mind. Thank you so much. Please. But I recently saw the director's cut and was just utterly... I loved it. Like, I like the theatrical version, but the director's cut's like the next level.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet, so...
That's what I wanted to ask you, if you...
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. But you were involved with it, though. You must have read the original script and knew what they filmed and whatnot. But I was curious if you had seen it.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I think I'm actually quite curious to see when it's incorporated with all the extra stuff, like the Under the Hood, and I think it'll be great when we have the Jerry Butler, the cartoon. I feel awful. What the fuck is it called again?
The Ultimate
Tales of the Black Freighter. I think that it'd be interesting to see how that sits in with the rest of the film. See whether it truly complements it or whether it makes it a bit more.
That hasn't come out yet.
Zach's such a good... No, it hasn't come out. It comes out November the 5th, I think. Well, it comes out soon.
Soon.
Or maybe it's December or something.
I don't know when that comes out. I've seen the version with the extra 25, 30 minutes of footage.
Okay.
And it is beyond impressive. You have the extra... You see the Hollis Mason,
He's great.
That whole
I
scene
hated McHattie being cut, actually.
Well, Zach told me what's interesting is the backstory, and I'm sure you know this, is that that was the last stuff cut. Because it would not fit on the IMAX platter.
Yeah.
Like, apparently that's the true story, that the extra 8 or 10 minutes was the last to go because of the...
Such a shame. He did such a good job. Because I have stuff I haven't seen as well, so that's why I'm curious to see it. There's it's a shame there's no backstory of Ozzy's stuff, which is one of the problems I found. But no, I can't wait for Tales of the Black Freighter. I think Zach did a phenomenal job. I think it's a film that'll age better than... I think the reception was always going to be tough, and I think it's a film that people will realise that just how much went into it when other big comic book films fall by the wayside.
I think that the best compliment that he can get on the film is that he did, in my opinion, the best possible job he could with the material that he was working with.
Absolutely. I think it's so inaccessible to a lot of people if you haven't read the comic book. And I think he did a really good job at trying to there's two different audiences there. There's people who have no idea about it and are going to be entertained, and then there's the die-hard fans who are a very hard bunch of people to please, and they fucking should be, because they love the material. So I think it was extraordinarily sensitively done, and he tried to get as many of the images of the original book in and use the same color palettes, and I know the casting was slightly off the wall. I mean, I could have thought of a few people who had the physicality. I'd love to have put on a lot more weight and transform my figure, and thanks big guy, for the role. But unfortunately, I was filming Brideshead at the time, and when we actually got lasered for the suits that we had to wear, I was locked in from that moment. I couldn't change my body type, and I think people had a problem with that, and a few other problems.
Something though, I'm a huge fan of the book, and I didn't have a problem with that. So I think you're overthinking on that one.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm just letting you know. I think
one of my traits, unfortunately, overthinking.
I'm just saying, it's like, anyway, jumping in, I know, so you did Leap Year with Amy Adams.
Yes.
So let's actually jump into that for a second. Can you talk about the film and what it was?
Yeah, no, but it was, well, obviously Amy's been, she's been nominated twice for an Oscar, and so you're like, wow, any chance to work with someone who's, of that kind of ilk is always good, but I was most intrigued to work with Anna and Tucker. I loved Hilary and Jackie when that film came out, and it was so fun. I wanted to go meet him and see what he was like, and he's like, it's not the kind of film that I'd normally make, but I'm giving myself over to the idea of making a romantic comedy, and he was like, would you want to come along for the ride? And I'm like, well, I play Irish, and I'm like, well, what are the, always first person to talk myself out of a job. Like, surely there's got to be, what's Cillian Murphy and Fassbender and all that lot doing, and I think they were all busy, strangely, because they're all bloody brilliant, but... So eventually I auditioned and eventually got the part, and we went off to Ireland, which was great. I hadn't been to Ireland much at all, and luckily we were over the West Coast a bit and then back in the studio in Dublin, and it was tough because I just had a baby with my partner, and so she was only 3 weeks old, so we started off trying to have us all in the hotel room with the dog, and and that just became a little bit too hard, and she felt a little isolated, obviously, because I was off for 12 hours a day, and then you come home and it's like, hold the baby, it was knackering. But such a lovely time working with an all-Irish crew. I mean, a lot of fun.
I have to ask, what is the hook of this movie? I know, obviously, Leap Year.
There's the old tradition that in Ireland on the 29th of February every 4 years that a woman can propose to the man. It's an old tradition, and so Amy's character is in love with her boyfriend, and he goes off to he's a doctor, and she thinks he's going to propose on because she's heard from a friend that he went to a certain jewelry shop, and so she's there waiting and expecting at a dinner to be proposed to, and he gives her some earrings, and she's like, fuck. So she hears about this tradition, and she's like, well, he goes off to this conference in Dublin, and she goes, well, I'm gonna go, and I think that's really romantic. I'll go and propose, and unfortunately, due to unforeseen weather conditions, the plane, instead of landing in Dublin, has to land in Wales, and then she can't get directly to Dublin, so she ends up on the west coast of Ireland, where she walks into a pub, and that's where she meets my character, and suddenly it turns into a bit of a road trip, and I'm sure you can imagine what happens from there.
I can't. I mean, it's just shocking.
It is.
Comedy.
It is shocking. I know, it's one of those things, but you sort of, I so agree with Anna, and you sort of have to, it seems so formulaic, and I think you want to sort of try and get away from stories like that, but I think you also have to grow a dick about, I think if you want to work as an actor, you have to appreciate all sort of forms, and it's entertainment essentially, and
but women love. And listen, if it wasn't popular, the movie
exactly,
would not be made.
And they're sweet, and it's something that I know that it's a film that when my daughter grows up, I think it'd be one of the ones that she can watch first, which is nice, because it's not something which involves hard cock, on screen or anything like that. So that's nice. It's accessible for her.
Right, okay, and that's a good way to end this interview.
My God, yes.
I'm going to thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Sincerely nice to see you.
So nice to see you again.